Hello superhumans, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited about this video because this video is all about advice and tips that I would give to DJs just starting out or producers in the early parts of their career. These are things that I wish that I knew when I was first starting out. For those of you who don't know, I am a DJ and producer. I want to say professional because I think that means that you're earning money through it. However, I definitely don't earn enough money to live from those things, not at the moment anyway. But I think that I've come quite a long way since I started and I've learned quite a bit along the way. And I feel like if I knew these things right in the beginning, I'd be further along and I would have had a much smoother journey to getting here. So if you're thinking about becoming a DJ or a producer, in fact, if there is any form of art that you're trying to get into, then I think that there's something valuable in this video for you. If you want to find out more about how to be a DJ or a producer or tips that will be advisable in the beginning of your career, then this video is for you. Step number one is to visualize your music career as a journey and not a destination. There are two important aspects to this. The first part is realizing that failure is feedback. If you view your career as a journey and realize that it's not as though you're trying to get to a specific point and then the race is over, but actually that good things, bad things, they're all happening along the journey to help you to be a better artist in the end, and they will all play a role in the artist that you become and the music that you produce and the music that you play and the stories that you tell. And that's really what music is all about. It's about storytelling. Every single part of the journey is going to contribute to the stories that you'll be able to tell. It will all shape your journey to make you even more individual. So really start to look at all the mishaps along the way as good things. There have been so many times where I've sent my music out to record labels and I haven't heard back. There have been times where I've sent my music out to people and the response has been very underwhelming. But I'm grateful for all of that because every single time things didn't go the way that I wanted them to, I ended up working just that much harder. I'm actually so grateful for all of those pieces of feedback because I've turned out to be a better artist as a result. It reminds me of when I was trying to go for my driver's license. I failed the first 2 times and I was so disappointed. Actually, I'm glad in retrospect because I improved much more as a driver between tests 1 and 2 and tests 2 and 3 when I actually got my drivers. Really start to appreciate the little bit of failure along the way. It is so crucial for making you the artist that you should be. The second part is to get very specific about your goals. If you do set out a vision, a 10-year vision, 5-year vision, 3-year vision, 1-year vision, it's not so much about achieving those specific targets, but about knowing the direction that you're going in. When you start tracking what your progress is and start making a plan to get there, you just put yourself on course to getting to some place of value to you. The chances that you'll end up super far from the place that you dreamed about getting to are very slim. You'll probably land up in that region. Maybe your taste in music will change along the way. Maybe your goals and dreams will adapt. But the point is having a vision. Make sure that you're carrying out your activities in a very productive way so that you're working towards some sort of outcome. Whether you actually end up achieving that specific outcome or something different as a result of different opportunities opening up, having that direction in the first place is very important. Number 3 is to create a list of 3 things that you need to place priority on in order to achieve what you identified in step 2. So for myself, I've known that I want to play at drum and bass parties. I want to DJ to large audiences on the lineups of artists that I look up to, and I've had this vision for a long time. So I deconstructed it into 3 things that I have to do. The first thing is that I need to produce. That's the first priority. If I produce as much as possible, I'll be working on my craft. The second thing is to play my instruments. The more that I play piano and guitar, the more I'm cultivating a unique sound and the more musicality I can bring into the music I can produce. The third thing is to DJ and to use my setup and decks and to make sure that I'm constantly getting inspired from transitions between tunes, that I'm making sure that my songs are actually playable. Can your music actually be played by DJs? Sometimes you can have the most beautiful song, but it is in such a difficult structure to analyze and to arrange. And DJing really helps you to understand what kind of features you look for when you select songs to play and also makes your songs better as a result. My fourth tip is to create a careful balance between consumption and creation. I suggest watching YouTube videos about DJing and production, reading books about sound engineering if that interests you. Consuming technical content about the craft that you're trying to master is very important to giving you the knowledge to improve your skill set. Sometimes we can get so consumed in trying to absorb more information that we end up with analysis paralysis. We end up feeling like we're ill-equipped to create any of our own stuff. We feel like our music will never be good enough. We feel like there's such a big gap from where we are to where we want to be. But all of those people creating YouTube videos, creating articles, writing books, all of them started exactly where you are. It's kind of like if you think about somebody's height, you have to go through every step of the way in order to get to that top height. You don't just jump in centimeters. So everybody went through those processes, but the time that they took at different stages was dependent on the way that they practiced. And for DJing and production, you want to practice by combining theory with practical. Make sure that you're creating. My favorite producers are all my favorites because they're not afraid to make mistakes. I see so many people who are very afraid to just give it a try. And once I started watching other producers and seeing that they were so experimental and they were not afraid to see what the outcome would be without it needing to be perfect, I started doing the same thing, and that's when my music really started to improve. So take chances, be creative, don't constantly consume new information and content, rather focus on learning just a little bit and finding multiple ways to apply what you learn. So much of the time we just watch so many tutorials, but then it just flies over our head because we're not able to retain and apply that information. Balance the ratio. For me, I try to do 50-50. I go through different periods. Right now I'm doing a lot more creating than consuming, although listening to music is somewhat contained within consumption. But in general, I'm doing a lot less of watching tutorials and things like I used to, because I found that my songs would sound a lot like other artists as I was following their tutorials. Now I want to develop and cultivate my own sound, so I'm just creating more than I'm consuming. The fifth thing is to get a group of mentors or advisors that you can turn to for any input. So there's some person at a party that comes to you and tells you that they thought that your set was not so good, or they wish that you played a certain kind of genre. Of course, those things settle in you and make you feel like crap. Nobody wants to be told that what they're producing is terrible. But an important thing for me was learning to separate myself from my craft a little bit, learning to separate me from what I create. Of course, it's an extension of me because music and any art form comes from the heart, but it's not me. It's just that piece of content I've created that people are giving me critique on. Having said that, I think it's very important to be mindful of the people whose opinion you do let penetrate. I try to keep people who have a range of opinions typically as my small group of advisors, and they may not know that they are my group of advisors, but I know when I'm working on a tune, I send it to about 5 people for different kinds of feedback. One of them is like the vibe guy. You know, he'll be like, this tune is just a vibe, it's so good, it's so great. He's usually giving me a lot of comfort, which is really nice. Sometimes you just want to know, does the song have any appeal? And so you need someone who's out there to listen for that appeal. Then I need someone who's super critical, who'll tell me that my kick is not sitting right and that our frequency clashes. And then I try to have a whole range of people in between, from super critical to not critical at all, and all the range in between. People whose taste I trust, people whose technicality I trust, and then I know that there can be other people who come with their specific opinions, and music is very subjective. Take the other day for an example. I sent out 3 tunes to 3 different people. All 3 of them said that they have a preference for a different one of the tunes, which was very surprising to me, but you'll find that this happens a lot. People have different opinions, and there'll be people who love what you make and people who really don't. Remember to always trust your own voice, even if those people are unanimous about not enjoying something that you're making. If you're really enjoying it, go for it, continue. Music is supposed to be about enjoyment. If you're not enjoying yourself, you're definitely doing something wrong. Number 6 is about logging your progress. I can't overestimate what difference this has made to my musical progress, especially when it comes to practicing my instruments and getting the feeling that I am doing something. I tend to be very hard on myself. I tend to feel like I just wish that I did more with my day, that I haven't progressed much in the last month, in the last year, in my lifetime. But once I started to track the actual efforts I was putting into music production and playing my instruments, I started to realize that even though the progress is not as fast as it was right in the beginning, usually you go from not being able to play the guitar to being able to play a couple of chords and a tune pretty quickly. But as you get better, that recognizable growth tends to reduce, and it tends to become more challenging to actually observe that improvement in yourself. So when I started logging my progress, I could actually see that I was putting time into my craft. Even if I didn't feel like I was improving that much, I could see that I was putting time and energy into the right things. I suggest you take 1 day off every week to look at your log and ensure that you are applying the actions that you described in step 3, which are the 3 things that you think that you should commit to in order to reach your goal. Are you applying those things in the order that you said you would? When I am time crunched, I only work on step number 1. When you have more time, you can do all 3 in a day, but working every day to try to achieve between 1 and 3 of those activities you've identified in step 3 is very important. Step 7, which is probably one of the most important ones, is to take risks and opportunities. I was a little bit too ambitious when it came to sending my records to record labels prematurely. In retrospect, I wasn't ready, but there was a bravery that came with me in my initial days that I kind of lost somewhere throughout the journey, and I'm only now starting to get back. But you miss 100% of the opportunities that you don't take. Challenge yourself to do something that makes you uncomfortable at least once a week. Share your music with somebody. Put your song on SoundCloud. Do something that you didn't think that you'd be able to do. Start before you're ready, as Marie Forleo says. Take risks and opportunities. Think about what the worst case scenario is. And if you're comfortable with the worst case scenario, then why not? Often we feel like the world will end if we don't get an opportunity, but we know that it's not really like that. You didn't have it before. If you don't have it after, it doesn't really make a difference in your life. Step out of your comfort zone. There are so many things waiting in the world out there for you, but you won't get them unless you grab them. And the final thing is to believe in yourself. I know that it sounds really cliche, but it really is true. One of the things that I've come to know for sure is that in all the areas of my life where I have the most confidence in myself, and one of those areas was in an academic and professional sense, things have turned out really well for me. Academically, I always felt strong. Things have been so great in terms of my 9-to-5 career because I, number one, really believed in myself. Number two, I visualized daily about what the future would look like. And number three, I let go and I just trusted the universe to handle it. I think that those are three very important ingredients for any sort of manifestation. Believe in yourself. If you carry yourself with confidence, you'd be surprised at what impact that makes on a room that you walk into. I can't tell you how many really amazing sets I've watched, but the DJs looked so unenthused and so unimpressed with what they were playing that it was really hard to get into the vibe. It'll make a difference on the A&R guys you're trying to impress. It'll make a difference on the people in the crowd who you're trying to impact a feeling onto. Believe in yourself. Carry the feeling that you know that you came onto this earth to do music and let that shine through. If you enjoyed these 8 tips, then please let me know down in the comments below if you'd like to see a part 2. When I was preparing for the script, I actually realized that there were so many more things that I could share. Please like and subscribe. Send this video to someone who would benefit from this information. Lots of love. Goodbye.